Hi, my name is Megan Cruz Fallen. I am the director of the Career Development Center at Randolph College. Randolph is a small private liberal arts college in Lynchburg, Virginia. My role here, we are a 1.5 person shop. So I serve our entire student population, which is between 500 and 600 undergraduate students. And we have a couple graduate students here too. I was fortunate to receive a VTOP professional development scholarship this past year to attend the NACE conference in Portland, Oregon. NACE is the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they have an annual conference. And I had not attended thus far in my career in career services. It was important to me to attend the conference this past year because I entered the role of director and right before the pandemic began. And as a young professional, I felt like I hadn't had a ton of professional development opportunities, and especially with COVID sort of curbing all of those opportunities, I hadn't really had a chance to be a part of some of these bigger conferences where there's a lot of really great materials that you can learn. So I applied for this scholarship to be able to attend the conference. Working at a small college, our budgets are pretty tight. So I knew I wouldn't have this kind of opportunity without some sort of extra support. The conference was amazing. Portland was amazing. I want to share some of the takeaways that I got from this conference this past summer, though. The first one came from a session I did on how your office can provide scaffolding approaches to career readiness for neurodiverse student populations. This session was led by a college who primarily serves neurodivergent students. So that was very interesting to hear from them, sort of the structures. They've really mastered this and some of the structures they have in place, really allowing students to highlight their unique strengths, sort of learning about creating scalable employment and internship opportunities, and a lot of information on how to coach students through disclosing information about their abilities. Another great session that I did was about pay gaps for students who participate in internships versus students who do not. And that had some really great tangible takeaways about how that disproportionately affects their marginalized communities. And I really appreciated the data that was presented in that session, and also how they gave some really great tangible examples about how to assist students with overcoming some of the barriers that might be there that prevent them from participating in internships. Lastly, one of my big takeaways from this conference was a session I did on emotional intelligence and how to coach students on this really important employability skills, and especially with the changes that students have been through with the pandemic and some of the developmental milestones they might not have met through opportunities they would have in the past. It was great to get some examples about how to incorporate some of these coaching tips into programming. Since I got back from the conference, some things that I've implemented to really use the takeaways that I got from that conference was that I've done a program with our Student Access Services and Disabilities Office. Back in the fall semester, I did a really successful program with that office where we touched on a lot of the points and examples that I had gotten from the session I attended at the conference. And I think we're going to really make that an annual program and maybe even develop it into some sort of class for students who that population of students. Another takeaway that I got from the internship session was that currently I run a funding program for internships that we received from a grant foundation, but that those funds are starting to be depleted, so we're going to be reapplying for funds. And I think that a lot of the data and examples that I got, while some of them were similar to what our institution is already doing, it really is going to give me a lot of materials to write a stronger grant application for that. And especially as we think about how we want to be very mindful of diversity, equity, and inclusion as I'm serving my students, that these takeaways have been really important for me to be able to incorporate in my programming and in my one-on-one with students. And then lastly, my office has just been trying to really take away some of those points from the emotional intelligence session that I attended, and some things where we might think it's obvious, not making that assumption anymore and realizing that students might have missed those developmental opportunities. So we're just really taking the time to point them out to students, give them really tangible examples that they can then turn around and talk about in an interview. Again, as the student demographics change, I think that this conference really gave me some of those tools and those confidence to make sure that as I'm meeting with all groups of students, I feel comfortable using language and using examples that will be beneficial to them. And lastly, I just want to really thank VTOP. I was actually shocked that I received the scholarship, but I felt so fortunate to do so. And I really appreciated that they invested this time in me as a young professional and allowed me to get some more tools for my tool belt so that I can be, I really make a lot of impacts with my students at Randolph College.